the truth.
You want the truth? You can't handle the truth.
You can be here when I get back? Yeah? Little more. See you later. 12 hours sleep last night. 12 hours is a lot of hours. Righto. I think I'm going to lose some of you today. Let's just get out and start the walk up the hill. I think I'm going to lose some of you today. Strange couple of weeks. Really strange couple of weeks. Listening to a lot of things. Listening to a lot of... Gaining a lot of information, but not enough information, if it makes sense, to make a succinct decision on people. It starts off with an interview I listened to from a guy called Guramit Singh. Now, Guramit Singh is an English Sikh in the UK who, at the time, in the beginning, he was the right-hand man to Tommy Robinson. I think you should know who Tommy Robinson is. From the English Defence League. Together they started that up. And just taking Guramit Singh out of the equation first of all and bringing in Tommy Robinson to the table, what's your perception of Tommy Robinson? Because mine, from mainstream media, was number one, he was a racist, number two, far right, number three, hooligan, trouble causer. It was all this, all this negative stuff, and that then comes from mainstream media. So now we bring mainstream media into the equation as well. So imagine a table where I'm sat there, me as a host, you're sat there as trying to be an open, objective person. We've now got Guramit Singh at the table. We've now got Tommy Robinson at the table. We've now got mainstream media at the table. And let's just first of all discuss Tommy Robinson. I listened to the interview for Guramit Singh, and I listened to 2.5 hours of it, of how he was telling me, look for the dog, how he was telling me that Tommy Robinson is not the person that you get who gets portrayed. So then what I decided to do was, I decided to go and listen to a few interviews from Tommy Robinson, who's actually been silenced by mainstream media completely now. After they've done all that, they took him off YouTube, or YouTube's taken him off, and they took him off a lot of social media platforms. The only platform he's actually allowed on, funnily enough, is Twitter, X. So he's allowed on there. So Elon Musk has allowed him on. What he's done is he's put a film on there, a documentary. He now calls himself a civilian journalist, a civil journalist. That's what he calls himself now. And he's put a film on there, which I've not yet watched, but 47 million people have. Now that tells you something, that if 47 million people have watched something, that they've taken the time out to watch it, that to me, it mustn't be rubbish. It mustn't have, it must have some sort of sway in there, which I'm still waiting to watch. I've just not had the time to go and watch it yet. So, for the last couple of weeks, I've been sitting around tables with friends talking about this, saying, so what do you think of Tommy Robinson? I actually know someone on the island who knows Tommy Robinson and says he's actually a decent bloke. Me listening to him and listening to what he said, I've heard him in interviews now, and I've heard about 3 hours worth of his interviews, of him talking, 3 hours worth of his interviews, 3 hours worth of his arguments. Not one person yet has proved him in a court of law that he has done anything illegal. Not one person's done that. He's asking everyone to call him out, to show him what he's done that's illegal. It's a right to free speech. He has a very, very strong argument over extreme Islam. His main beef is all the religions in the world are based on peace, love and harmony, except the extreme Islams, who is an aggressive religion. It's based on conquer, it's based on ownership, and hence the reason why things that happen sometimes, for instance, like Rotherham, that's happened over in the past of Rotherham. So he was literally just trying to say, look, as Britain, we don't want to lose our identity, but the direction we're going, it looks like we are losing, Britain's losing its identity. I've got to say Britain is, I don't live there anymore. So he's putting a few strong arguments up. Yet then you've got mainstream media then who are having a go at him. And he's like, well, prove it. Because at the moment they can't prove it. So we're in a scenario at the moment where it's like a Mexican standoff. And you'll most probably have your own view of him as well. You'll have your own view of what he's like, and you might go, Rick, you're wrong. And that's why I said at the beginning I might lose some people on here. So trying to stay independent, what I then decided to do was I went, hang on a minute, let's go and look for stuff. Let's go and look for source. Let's go and look for stuff to debunk this. Let's go and look for proof or evidence that what mainstream media is saying. I've long stopped believing mainstream media long ago. Basically because I read the Daily Mail online and you can see what rubbish gets spouted out there. Look, for instance, at Russell Brand. Mainstream media got hold of him because he was going against a narrative, and they brought these documentaries out and basically threw a load of mud at him. Nothing stuck. So what good it did, I don't know, but unless it's Joe Public, and this is another great bit about it, Joe Public, when how people can get swayed with it. So stick with me. I'm going to put the dog on his lead and take him up the road to the hill, and then we'll carry this on at the top of the hill, okay? Are you still with me? I'm not sure. So we're back, top of the hill. Don't forget it's the dog's walk, not mine. Right, so Tommy Robinson, right? He has gone out now, and he is, for a start, people saying he's racist. I don't believe somebody can be racist if their right-hand man is somebody called Guramit Singh, and he's a Sikh. So then they go, oh no, he's not racist, he's partially racist to certain faiths and religions only. I'm like, yeah, a bit backtracking on that. He's claiming that the things that happen in Rotherham, for instance, created, or it shows proof that there is a two-tier police system when it comes to ordinary men, ordinary people, and then when it comes to people with certain faiths, and it's like extreme Islam is what he keeps talking about, and he's got the proof to prove it and shows it, etc. And he's brought some fascinating arguments to the table to prove this. Now that's what I mean, it's fascinating arguments. I'm not saying I believe it, but fascinating arguments. Guramit Singh followed it up. I listened to him first, and he followed it up first of all with all the things about what the EDL was about, which I don't, as I said, I didn't really follow at the time, didn't really listen to it. I heard about it, but I heard from mainstream media how bad it was and how they incite riots. Tommy turns around and says, it's free democracy when you've got a right to have freedom of speech. Sorry, mate. Sorry, guys, he's just pulling us the wrong hand. Freedom of speech. And it's, every citizen's right to have the freedom to go out onto the streets. And all the rights, he says, have never been about violence or inciting violence. So now you've literally got two sides of a coin, haven't you? You've got heads and you've got tails. It's like, well, who do you believe? So then for me, right, as I said to you before, I don't really follow mainstream media anymore because I think it's just absolute garbage. They're just trying to push their own agenda. So what you'd always do, or what I'd do, and maybe most probably you guys would do, is you'd then go, well, I'll tell you what, let's go to Google and find out some independent stuff and see what we can find on the independent news of Google. Come here. Then I need to grab my notepad here, because then in Google, because you think Google will give you the honest story, I then come across Robert Epstein. Robert Epstein is a psychologist who has, at a cost of $7 million, he's created a website which is called America's Digital Shield. Now, what he can show based over the last few years, he's been able to collate data. People have free willingly given him basically a look over their shoulder when they're on the computer and they're searching. So, for instance, imagine 75,000 people in America, and what they've done is they've given permission for Robert Epstein to have access to their computer at all times. So basically, he's looking over the shoulder. When they go onto a Google search and they type in, let's say, for instance, now the American elections, who should they vote for? What happens is Google will throw up what we think is random, because Google comes up with like 20 pages, and nobody ever goes past page 1, do they? And we think that it throws up random information based on popularity, Google's number one search. I was Google's number one search. Chicken nugget. Very good, very nice. If you Google that, you'll find me on Google's number one search. So it'll throw up things like that is basically information, and then you click on one, and that page then that you've just like shown disappears forever. So it can't be tracked or traced. Yeah, Epstein, what he's done is he's created a program now that, because 75,000 people volunteered to sign up to the program, he has collected that data of what has been shown. Now, if we're taking the American elections as an example, if you are a staunch Democrat or a staunch Republican, there's nothing you can do to sway anybody's vote. That's who they are, that's who you are. However, let's say you're 50-50 on the fence. With all this data that Epstein's collated, he's managed to put it on a real-time website, America's Digital Shield. I'll leave the link below. And he can clearly see the bias that Google has now towards one party over the other. So in essence, that big tech like Google can actually sway people's thought processes towards one direction or another. To a point of actually 80% to 20%. That is a hell of a lot. So that tells me then that when you're looking for your own information, or you're on your own deep delve search to find out what the truth is, you think where you go to the holy book of Google, even that's as biased as it comes, in a direction that it wants to send you. So even that doesn't give you the correct information that you're after. Now this video isn't about the rights of how Tommy Robinson, we should all be thinking how right he is. This video really is about, where do you find the truth? Because the reason why my marriage broke down was in the beginning of our relationship. I said, listen, based on my upbringing, the only thing you don't need to do to me, don't ever lie to me. Do whatever you want, don't ever lie to me. That's all it is. Unfortunately, that happened. So that broke down a marriage, and I've got a very staunch principle about that, because I'll never lie to anybody else, so don't lie to me. And now, more and more evidence is coming through that I know mainstream media lies. I now know Google lies. I don't yet know if Tommy Robinson lies, or if Guramit Singh lies. But you'll most probably know, I don't have the time. This is the other thing as well, you don't have the time to go all the way back to year .1. When you learn, right, here's one for you. When you learn a language, right? And it's like, there's a language course, it's 100 lessons, and we start off with hola. And at the end of it, you've got the end result of why you're speaking a language. Unfortunately, when it comes to topics like Tommy Robinson, Guramit Singh, you don't actually have, or Donald Trump, for instance, you don't actually have that lesson one. You don't know where to start on lesson one. You tend to start in the middle of a narrative. And that's when really you can't stand on a ledger or on a plinth and go, listen, this guy's right because of DEF. But people go, yeah, you didn't look far enough though, because you've got ABC to contend with. And I'm like, where do you start? Or should you start in the first place? Should you start? Because that's the next one. Because for the people who don't know the information I've just told you, most probably your world's a little bit more peaceful. But you're creating a world where your grandkids, what if extreme Islam is a thing? And then you don't do anything about it? And then you leave that world for your grandkids? What happens then? For instance. So, right, this is where I'm at the moment, right? I've now got other people that have come in the scope that I've actually got no idea about. The big one at the moment, right? Keir Starmer. I've got people on my feeds who despise this man with a passion. I know about the Jimmy Savile thing, but I don't know anything else. And it's like, I was going to destroy the country. Haven't the Conservatives already done that since Thatcher days? Haven't they just they've sold everything anyway? Everything that we had, they've sold it, pocketed the money, and now we have to go out and buy it. Fuel, for instance, and we buy it at higher costs. I'm saying you, but haven't the Conservatives already done that? And it's just like, when it comes to that sort of conversation, I'm extremely talking about DEF because I haven't got a clue about ABC. And when you haven't got a clue about ABC, it makes it really, really difficult. It makes it extremely difficult to take sides. I find it extremely difficult to take sides. So then what happens is, I thought there was a car coming. Then what happens is you come to an analogy of everyone's corrupt. The whole lot. They're all done. Don't believe any of them. Put your head in the sand like an ostrich and just go along with the status quo like a sheep. Because, as according to Tommy Robinson, that's what they want you to do. Joe Rogan says that as well. That's what they want you to do. Can you imagine? I bet half of you have got now your views on there going, Rick, what rabbit hole are you going down? It's ridiculous. Rick, you're so wrong. Or Rick, I staunchly agree with you. He's having a good sniff around. So the only thing I do know, right, and this is with clarity that I do know, because I've looked it up, is Eton College or Eton University, Eton, you know Eton, you've heard of it, the educational place, Eton. Eton has produced 20 prime ministers. And in the words of Danny Dyer, if there's one thing we must learn, is that the people who went to Eton, they cannot run the country. I think that's the one base fact that we have for sure at this moment in time. If you went to Eton, you're not capable of running the country, because that's a fact when you look at where it is at this moment in time. It's weird having a platform as large or as small as this is. Tommy Robinson gets 47 million views on his. I got 2.5 on the last one. It's weird having a platform because the direction the platform takes you, sometimes it just goes on a different direction. It looks on the YouTube channel that I've been quiet, but as you can see, over the last 2 weeks, I've been extremely busy. Gaining self-knowledge, really. But I still, at this moment in time, don't know whether it was worth it. I still don't know where it's going to take us. You know, whether it's going to make it better for me. I feel it's woken me up a little bit more, and that's for sure. Do us a favour, I'm going to leave the links to the podcasts I've listened to. If it's of interest to you, have a listen, see what you think. Be interesting to see what your comments are on it. If it's not for you, it's absolutely fine, I get it. You know, next week I might be talking about my favourite cartoons of all time, I don't know. But I just think this is something that I felt strong about. And unfortunately, I don't have enough information on to actually stand on a line, to cross a line either to the left or the right. And that's frustrating. That's really, really frustrating. But there you go. Till the next one, guys. Have a great week. See you soon. All the best. Cheers.